And we're back, guys. Welcome back to the What Are Us podcast. I am Kevin. I'm here with
ST.
And I'm here with
Mary.
Mary, my lovely wife, Mary.
Lovely.
No, honey, stop. This is not how you start the podcast. Well, that's it. Thanks, guys, for listening. No, just kidding.
Yeah, it was a good week.
Well, we're going to start the podcast off like we always do. Well, first off, want to thank Sabukovic RV, our sponsor, Big Bear Wine and Liquor, and again, my wife. Hello, welcome to the show.
Woo!
Sound the applause. All right, we're going to start off like we usually do. T, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a John Daly.
Hitting that John Daly. Mary, what are you drinking?
Arnie Palmy.
Arnie Palmy, the John Daly.
The John Daly.
The spiked iced tea lemonade deliciousness. And I'm drinking Fat Tire because that's what I do.
If you didn't drink Fat Tire,
they'd go out of business.
I think your system would go into shock.
Sometimes that's voodoo.
Yes.
Sometimes it's abs.
Yes.
Okay, if you didn't drink beer, I think your system would go into shock.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
I don't drink good beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minus Mickey's.
Oh, hey.
You do drink the type of beer where your pinky should be in the air whenever you pronounce whatever you're drinking?
Unless I'm
either-
drinking Mickey's.
It's either pinky in the air or brown paper bag. There is no in between for him.
Right. As it should be.
Yes. Because I heart beer. All right. Well, we've hinted at it. We've talked about it. And we're finally going to do it. We have my wife, the serial killer expert. Enthusiast. Yeah, we'll go with enthusiast. Expert.
Expert sounds good, too.
Yeah. Either means that she has a degree or has done a lot of research. And if I come up missing.
Well, you can't say it on the podcast.
Well, okay, we'll edit that out.
If he
God, you're
doesn't
selfish.
say it
How
now.
dare I? Well, we kicked around this idea, talking about like serial killers and stuff like that, and Mary and I had talked about not so much talking about serial killers themselves, but like people's fascinations with them. Movies and television shows and stuff like that. Like what brings that sort of interest? What about that interests you? What
Psychopathic women.
Yeah.
Is mainly the reason why those people have interest.
The people that that watch Snapped.
But see, most serial killers aren't women.
Mm-mm.
The ones that are women are the most fascinating ones because they do it in completely different ways.
Yeah.
They're usually not the spree killers either.
They do it while hooking.
What?
I'm a hooker. Bam, bam, bam.
I'm a
He
hooker, you're
mistreated
dead.
me.
Eileen Wuornos was probably more male than female, to be fair. I'm talking about like the ones that like poison multiple
She's a
husbands and get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think I told you guys about the Small Town Murder.
Yeah.
that I listened to.
Yeah, that podcast.
There's this chick, I forgot what her name is, but she would work at old folks' homes.
Uh-huh.
And they called her they called her the Black Widow or whatever, because she would literally if she was working, they had a 30% increase in the mortality rate
Was it
compared to
age
when
old
she
death?
wasn't. It might have been, I don't know, but yeah, she they said that literally when she was there, they had an extra 100 people die on her shift in 1 year than everybody else.
Well,
And they're
she's getting that
"Holy
turnaround,
shit."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're waiting tables, you want to get people in and out so you can get more people in.
Right, yeah. It's why would we want them to stay here for a long time? Let's get a new patient in here.
Right?
I'm impatient.
I think I'm more fascinated with the ones that get away with it for so long, and there's so many times that they could have been caught, and just why were they not caught?
Like the Zodiac or
Dahmer.
BTK.
Dahmer could have been caught so many times before he was actually
Before a
caught.
little Asian person ran outside of his house.
Even
melting.
then he wasn't caught. Even then he wasn't caught. He was caught after that. Like he actually took a victim back into his house from police help.
Hey, can you get that little Asian boy back here, please?
I'm not done
And
yet.
everyone's
I'm
like-
still alive.
He's not in my refrigerator yet. I'll let you know when I'm done.
I think that's like part of the fascination for me is that it's not the like one or two kill people, or it's like how is it these people got away with this for so long, which makes it sound even worse that I'm more interested in that.
Right.
But
Well, like, and with murder, a lot of times, like, the things that the murderers don't think about is the dismount. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to go kill this guy. Okay, great. What's your dismount? How do you not get caught afterwards?
Right?
yeah.
You know, they're always like, instant gratification. I hate this person.
Yeah.
Stab, stab, stab. Oh, there's blood in my apartment now, and I have nowhere to put him. There's no pig farms around here. We're in New York.
Hopefully my disposal's working properly.
Yeah, I'm going to have to blend this fucker up, and it's going to take a while.
Look at Bundy. Bundy is a great example of somebody who just time after time. I mean, he was arrested with supplies in his car, in his front seat, of like duct tape and like all these like kill supplies. They arrested him. He had this description, and he still got out of jail multiple times before he was actually physically.
Didn't he escape once?
I believe so.
I want to say Florida. He escaped.
Yeah, but
Or
that hard?
maybe Denver too. What,
Is that
to
hard?
escape?
yeah.
Prison?
No.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, from what I understand, and I heard this on a different podcast. I think it was the Boogie Monster one. He escaped out of an open window.
Mm-hmm.
He was left alone in a room somewhere, and there's an open window, and he's
Most
just like,
of the time, it's the bathroom.
yeah, he's just like, okay, I'm out. So, I mean, giving him credit for escaping, yeah, but give the circumstance, it's like, well, he crawled out a window. I mean, he didn't like take out the whole police force or anything, but I guess an escape's an escape. So,
Right? You're like, come back to me whenever you killed 5 of them.
And another one that's like fascinating to me are the people who fall in love with these people after the fact,
right,
knowing full
Like-
well this person dismembered people.
Right. Well, like, yeah, Ted Bundy had a bunch of them at his trial.
Groupies, yeah.
yeah,
And then the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, had a ton of them. And it's like,
Well, and like the
Psycho
chicks that
bitches.
fell in love with Manson, I know he didn't kill anybody, but he orchestrated all of that, the Sharon
was a
Tate murder and stuff.
puppeteer.
Yeah,
I
everyone.
think he did kill actually a couple people, but it was he was more.
I think it was the chicks that, like, he just, like,
No, there
made
was
them go
other
do it.
murders. So that was the most famous murders. What was her name?
Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the most famous of the murders that he orchestrated. But there are other ones that they did together. But yeah,
Him
the fact
and
that
Tex.
the fact that he pretty much was like a cult leader.
Yeah,
It was more of that, and so he's different in the fact that it was more. He was able to implement other people doing what he wanted.
I love having an expert here. This is great. That it gives validity to the podcast.
I'm not an expert. I just
That Tex, his right hand man's where that I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work comes from.
Okay, from
It's like-
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
No, House
Yeah,
of Thousand
yeah.
Corpses.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where they got that originally. Is he said that to somebody right before he killed him or
Right.
some shit.
And like you're saying, the people that just are completely infatuated with the serial killers. It's like, what draws you to them? I mean, yeah, they're charismatic to a point, but what about that draws you to them?
I think psychologically, I think people like being scared. I think it's the same.
Or that sense like, oh, this guy could protect me. He killed 17 people.
No, I think it's the same thing. Same reason why we watch scary movies. It's that like I'm
You want-
safe, but I'm not completely safe.
You want that thrill?
That thrill of something. I think that's part of what draws people to it.
Okay. I could see that.
I think chicks for sure.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
Because they don't have enough things to
you're
scare
a
them in life.
bad boy.
I'm not saying I want one.
Good, because you don't have one.
Your last girlfriend had 3 black eyes at one time. Perfect.
But she has 2 eyes.
What did I ask you on our first date?
Were you going to skin me alive or something?
Yeah, he never said no.
I haven't answered yet. I'm still contemplating it.
going for yes, but
You're still
you
there.
never know.
Well, and then the other thing is like not so much like people's fascinations with the serial killers, but like the mainstream, like why are there so many television shows and movies about it? It's like it could be the fact that people want to be scared, but I mean,
Cheap production.
I mean,
You don't have to write a story; it's already written for you.
based on a true story, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
And you can pump them out like this compared to like, hey, come up with the show where it's going to be syndicated, and you have to write 30 minutes a week for 15 weeks a year, and then you have to do that 10 years. You know what I mean? Like,
You mean Hallmark
instead,
movies?
Right.
Yeah.
The same
Instead,
movie.
they can do Dateline, and it's just like, all right,
Yeah.
this guy murdered 12 people and killed himself afterwards. Let's do a documentary on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like shows like Dexter and movies like
love
Silence.
Dexter.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that. They're all loosely based off of. I think both of those are loosely based. Well, no, I don't think Dexter is, but I know Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Silence of the Lambs are loosely based off
And
of
Psycho.
Ed Gein. Psycho, based off Ed Gein, and
Which is really interesting because Ed Gein did not kill very many people.
No.
His actual body count was maybe
Like,
2 or 3
yeah.
people that he actually killed. He was just
What was the shit that he did with him after he killed him?
well, no,
he
he
turned
was
him
also
into furniture.
yeah,
well, he was going to graveyards and digging up dead bodies for most of his stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like I'm not saying this was a stable man in any shape, way, or form, but he definitely brought out the imagination of a whole other generation
Yeah.
of people that are like,
well, and
this could never happen. How could this happen?
And it's like these other movies that base it off of him just took little bits and pieces of his whole story to base it off that,
Right.
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Silence of the Lambs with the whole stitching up, the body part stuff. Whereas, what's the other one? I can't remember which one. Psycho was the whole mommy issue thing he had, and collecting, parts and stuff.
Yeah, he had a whole room in his house that was his mother's, I believe, and that was the only room in the house that was not touched.
Yeah.
Like he just like closed it off, and that was mom's room.
Well, yeah, mom will get pissed.
But the rest of the house was just like filled with garbage and like
Was that
dead body
after
parts.
she died and stuff, or what?
Yeah, and
I
she
guess
was
she was
like,
very abusive.
yeah.
People do that shit with their kids too. Like, they have a kid that passes, they're like, I want to preserve it forever, like it's a time capsule. It's like,
Yeah,
it's not very healthy.
No, you have to let that go. It's
Right.
as emotionally tearing as it is. You have to kind of,
Dress
grieve
it
and-
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but, I mean, I mean, I guess it just brings it back. It's like, what, aside from the whole wanting to be the shock value and wanting to be scared, what brings people to like
Yeah.
the serial killers and stuff?
Maybe the mystery behind it.
Like what's going on in their
Like,
head?
why would they do it? What's
Yeah.
wrong
Trying to
with
figure
them?
out what's
Did
going
they
on.
snap? Are they
Is this like-
mentally ill? Are they actually like just sound thinking human beings that decided to do this? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, what's the reason why they're doing it? You know?
Yeah. Okay, so I was telling you about the show Mindhunters. Who was the killer guy that was helping the two detectives?
I don't remember.
You had brought it up. It was
To the Google.
shit.
Casey.
No, it wasn't Gacy. That's
Oh,
a
I know who
BTK.
you're talking about, the big guy.
yes.
Oh, the clown?
no.
Clown guy?
No, the one that the co-ed killer. The one that was going and chopping off girls' heads and like doing things to their throats. I'm not going to go into detail, but you can look it up.
He was doing his own
He was like
tracheotomy.
he wanted to be a cop too. So he was helping the cops.
Edmund Kemper.
Yeah.
Kemper.
Yeah.
He
Well,
was a big
That's
dude.
the one that my roommate looks like.
yeah, that's what brought it up. But in that show, these two FBI.
Oh yeah, I remember. So they're trying to build a psychological profile of what makes a person become a serial killer or how to find them in the wild kind of thing. And it's kind of loosely based off of what the FBI was doing to do this. Unfortunately, the more that they look into it, psychology now versus then, they're finding that a lot of the methods that they used weren't the most reliable because they weren't using a large enough sample size of people. So that's why, if you've ever heard, most serial killers are male between the ages of 25 and 40 or something like that. That's actually
white.
That's been proven to be wrong. That was the sample of people who were willing to be interviewed for these things, but that wasn't an inclusive sample of all of the above. So I think there's probably more female serial killers or more, other nationality serial killers out there that just weren't included in that sample size.
Mostly Eskimo.
It's gingers. It's always a ginger.
It's why every episode is something about a fucking ginger.
Maybe it's an Eskimo woman ginger.
Maybe. Silence. But with that show, so they the FBI folks are talking with Ed Kemper, or that he's helping them. But the side plot is they show the BTK killer that's like doing his thing, and they're getting more information about him while he's doing his stuff, and they end up like tracking him.
I think so. At one point, I kind of
fell off that
one.
The crazy thing about that dude, he I want to say he was like deeply involved with his church and everything, because he lived in I want to say Kansas.
I think so.
Because my grandparents lived there like since the 60s or 70s in Kansas, and they were telling, like, they were down here in the early 2000s. They're like, yeah, I think they just caught this killer, like, that's been on the go for 30 years. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, he's like a deacon in his church, like upstanding citizen, family and kids, went home. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, well, what did he do to not kill everybody else at home? Well, he did that before he went home.
Yeah, well, you don't take work home with you.
If you're good.
Yeah. Unless you're Dahmer, then you're taking home work with you.
Yeah.
Work
it's
home
for
with
pleasure.
You. Yeah. Well, it's it's a hobby, I guess.
Yeah,
You do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
You do what you love what you do. If you're him.
I think I really like also going into like what you were saying, like the psychology of like, why would somebody do that? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Are you born like that? Or is it a string of events that happen in your life that make you more prone to do something like that? Like if two kids were raised in the same household or different households, would they have the same outcome? Would one person have these tendencies to want to hurt other things? Or is it something that's built in all of us?
Okay, so credit Boogie Monster podcast for this as well. They were talking about Michael Myers from Halloween. I guess that was based off an actual person as well in the 30s. I can't remember his name. He was an abused child. His parents end up finding, they were like alcoholics, all that stuff. His parents end up finding out that he was switched at birth in the hospital. So that wasn't he wasn't their kid. So they took it out on him like no other. They, just abused him, neglected him, all this shit. Well, the parents actually end up having a daughter of their own, and treated her like a princess, and treated him like shit no matter what throughout his whole life, throughout her life. She was a godsend, and he was just an abomination. Well, he ended up, one Halloween, she went to a Halloween party, he had to stay home, and he fucking, I guess, just snapped. Killed mom and dad, waited for his sister to come home, killed her, went around the neighborhood trick-or-treating after he murdered his fucking family. I guess killed another couple kids, and the next day, they found him in a playground, swinging on a swing.
Listening to Rob Zombie.
No. Just eating candy.
Living that girl.
Yeah, eating candy and swinging on a swing. So they took him to, and I guess he was just, he was Michael Myers, like, stature, when he grew up, just big and intimidating, an imposing person. And while he was in, the facilities, I guess he ended up beating the shit out of orderlies and killing people as well and stuff. So I don't know the validity of it. I checked it, and there's checked it out to fact check it, and there was opposing facts saying that it's true or not. But it's just some of these movies that take these stories, just or some of the movies that you see is like, oh, this can't be fucking real.
Mm-hmm.
Sure as shit,
Right.
If I can't, let's see if I can find the name of it.
Yeah, well, and like you were saying, like nature versus nurture, I think he's kind of onto something, because I've heard of like stories where they have like twins, and one goes down one path, other one goes down the completely opposite path.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I think everybody receives information differently. Like the way your brain thinks, the way you like receive
Process
what
it.
somebody's saying compared
Yeah.
to what somebody else will. And yeah, it's crazy, but I think it has a lot to do with the information you take in. Not like, oh, you were born to these two, so you're going to kill people no matter what you decide to do.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like you could lock yourself inside of a house and never talk to anybody, and you're not going to kill people.
Well, and that's the thing, it's just like, most households, if you, a lot of families, don't have the best family structure, you have, abusive parents, some turn out to be, drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever. Some of them turn out to be, try to pull themselves away. So is it just how you are, how you process it? Is it, your environment? How you process your environment?
Or is some people just more predisposed to violence? I mean, sociopaths are a true thing.
Yeah.
That feel no regret or remorse over what they're doing. But I don't think sociopaths are the only thing that... So I think serial killers can't be defined as like one given thing. And in fact, they've even changed the definition of a serial killer. Because it used to be like X amount
5?
of people. Yeah, now I think it's like 1 or 2.
If it's like-
technically
if it's-
be considered a serial killer.
if
based
it's
off
like
of
the
the
same
reasons
pattern.
why.
Killed 2 people. It's so many people.
It's so many
And
people.
the difference between,
Fucker.
say, like a serial killer who does it methodically over multiple years or whatever the circumstances are, or somebody who goes and shoots up something, like what's different about those two individuals? Like, is
Yeah.
something more of like a passionate thing and something's a compulsion, or
Well, because like,
Yeah.
I guess like if somebody tells me like, hey, there was a school shooting today and 20 people died.
Yeah.
I'm not like, well, that's a serial killer. I'm like, well,
No,
that's
that's
a
more
crazed
just a-
fucking murderer
Yeah,
that killed
it's a mass murder.
20 people in a clip,
Yeah.
But like, if somebody like literally like they get off on the fact that somebody's like scared because they're gonna die and then they kill them and they do that 20 times, that's a serial killer.
Yeah.
The other dude was just, if it was on a video game or in public, he probably doesn't know the difference between the two. He just wanted to hear it.
Right. Stanley Stiers is the name of the guy I was talking about. Just to throw that out there.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. But
Write a paper on him.
That'll be my homework.
write your dissertation on it. But yeah, it's just, something that, ST and I were kicking around this whole subject, something that I knew that you knew a lot about because you loved the subject and all that. And it's something definitely that we could, do another freaking episode on. I mean, unless there's other, instances that you want to bring up.
I don't know, offhand. I mean,
You didn't do your homework before the podcast? How unprepared of you.
I didn't know it was going to be on the podcast.
H.H. Holmes was one of them that we
That's
talked about
another
too.
one.
that
Oh,
was-
yes. That guy.
Yeah.
Again, another one. How did no one see signs of this guy building a murder mansion?
Well, yeah.
Constantly going through contractors
Yeah,
and
the way
stuff.
he did it, he would fire contractors halfway through their work or something, so
Yeah.
he wouldn't have to pay them, and then the next people would come in, and all the materials are there already, and they'd
Yeah.
finish it. But he had gas lines running through the hotel rooms and stuff like that, and he had, I want to say he had a mortuary underneath where he could do all of his embalming and shit
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
did.
He had shoots
He
where
was
he
a
laundry
doctor, I
shoots.
think.
No, he was a fake doctor.
Fake doctor.
There you
He's
go.
a fake doctor.
He was like a chiropractor then.
No, he
Sorry,
he
Doc
didn't
Vic.
have any.
Yeah,
From what I understand,
sorry, Dr. Vic, Dr. Younger, and anybody else that we offended right there.
he was a con artist.
Yeah.
He was conning people, and he was taking their money, and he was meeting these people at the World's Fair.
Yeah.
And so they were all people from out of town that didn't have anywhere to go. That there was at that time there was no way for me to like check into Facebook and say, "Hey, I'm going to some crazy dude's house. Call the cops if I don't show up at 6 a.m." You know.
You had to send stuff by mail, which took for fucking ever because it was maybe
It was a 1920s, 1910s?
18.
See,
He was
that's-
active 1891 to 1894.
And the thought of a serial killer, just the notion of it is like a fairly newer concept for humanity. I mean, there's always been murder and there's always been those things, but why is it in the last like 150 years or so that this has become such a fascination? Because it's not just like people like me that just look it up. I mean, people have a fascination with this kind of stuff, whether it's hangings or, you know, we used to like have public executions. Like, why did people show up for these things?
To see justice.
Yeah, I was
I don't
Whether
think
it
it's
was
justice.
justified.
I think there's a morbid curiosity that's built into humans.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like whenever when they hung Saddam Hussein in like 03. I watched that fucking video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, that dude was fucked up and killed thousands of people. I want to watch that motherfucker die. You know what I mean? Or like you look up Bin Laden's fucking picture whenever they say that they got him, and it's like, well, sweet, fuck yeah, fuck that guy.
But I mean, what's to separate, you know, that mentality from people, you know, being fascinated with, you know, serial killers or mass murderers or shit like that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not like doing my homework.
She's doing her homework.
You are.
But I mean, if I do start investing in pigs,
All right, I'm shutting you off. Well, I think this is a pretty good spot to cut it right here. I mean, we can definitely, you know, bring the subject up again if you want to be on again, Mary.
okay.
Or we can have a lighter-hearted episode where you
Rant
Drop-
about nerd stuff.
rant about nerd stuff or drop a
about-
C-bomb in the middle of a restaurant before we leave.
Oh, that was funny.
Please go on.
I was venting to some of the people at the bar that
Shout out to Cat's Poorhouse.
my new management is not the nicest of people, and I very casually dropped the C word. And I had about 5 people at the bar look at me.
Mostly
just-
men.
Just shocked. Like, oh, she must be really mad. And I'm like, no.
Oh, she says that before breakfast. No, it was
I
quite
call the cat one all the time.
Well, the cat is kind of a C-bomb. On that note, I just want to give a special thank you to Mary for joining us on the podcast. Applause. Golf claps. You can clap for yourself, honey. Just be proud of it. To our sponsors, Zabukovic RV, Big Bear Wine and Liquor, our friends over at Reservoir Brewing, our friends at the Making Cash and Talking Trash podcast.
If you plan on killing people, by the way, don't sign up for 23andMe. No, legit. They put that shit in a database.
Yeah. It's
Everybody
actually in the
gets it.
fine print.
That's how the Golden State Killer got caught.
Oh,
Finally?
They found. Oh, you didn't know this?
Oh, no, I guess I'm
was
not
like
up
3
on
years
my...
ago, 4
I'm not
years
up
ago.
on my current events.
They were like decoding the DNA. They put it into the profile in the system, and it popped up in the 23andMe. The epithelials like match somebody related
Isn't
to
he
him.
like 60
and
or
it was his
70?
daughter. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
He was a cop. And that's
That's
like
a whole
that was
other
his end. You
subject.
know what I mean? He'd find people that he wanted to do while he was on duty and shit, and then he'd like
like
actually-
Dexter.
right?
Like, oh, okay, well, this
But he
guy's
wasn't
a
kinda-
killing bad people.
He was killing
whoever he
Yeah,
wanted.
normal people.
See, I think that should be the
Jaywalker.
next topic.
Right.
Is classifications of
Yeah.
serial killers.
Yeah.
Patton Oswalt's wife is one that like kind of did a bunch of books and shit and research on.
Oh,
finding
yes.
it too.
Yes. I remember him interviewing her talking about it.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do my homework.
All right. So there's
I'll
going to be a
come
part
with a pie
2.
chart.
We'll have to have it on video for that one. Or just we'll take pictures of the pie chart. She put a lot of work into this, folks.
And have a lot of fucking strings going back and forth.
Oh, speaking of which, we subscribed to that whole Hunt a Killer
Oh, it's
thing.
so fun.
We bought one over at Target, about a month and a half ago. We went through it in one night, which is kind of a little starter thing, kind of get you hooked on it. And we subscribed to it, and that starter one was a fucking blast. So, hey, we get to hunt killers.
And they just get harder, apparently.
Yeah.
But it's really fun because they give you like all kinds of different clues and stuff. And they have like actual like photos of like boot prints and all these kind of cool things. So like you're going along. So I told him, I was like, I need a cork board and some yarn because I need to start putting my clues up.
Not sponsored.
Right, yeah, not at all.
Not sponsored, but we'd like to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for it anymore.
I told him he needs to get sponsored by Hunt a Killer
Yes.
and that manscaping thing.
Oh, jeez.
Shave your balls, Kevin.
Fantastic. On that note, I want to thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Everyone say goodbye.
Adios.
Everybody say goodbye.
Everybody say goodbye. Oh, repeater.
Repeater.